Koro bangumi wa goran no sponsor no teikyo de okuri shimasu. Monarch, your secrets are safe with us. Safer with us. You can't trust your secrets. Tell us and we'll take care of everything else. Beyond logic lies truth. Monarch. Also, by patreon.com/Evacstation. Your secrets aren't safe with you, and neither is your money. Why don't you just let us hold on to that for you? We can invest in a new podcast, improving old shows, and maybe even paying off our debt to a vague but menacing government agency. Just a thought. Again, patreon.com/Evacstation. And somebody please help us. I didn't write an intro for this episode, so welcome to the After Credits Cast. My name is Aaron J. Waseska, and I'm joined by Ryan Metters.
I'm still here, I'm just dying.
Ryan has been very fun to amuse tonight. He drank some vodka, everybody.
I did. I had a drink or 5. Anyway, I'm excited to talk about tonight's movie.
We are. Yeah. We're both excited to talk about this movie. And before we get into talking about any kind of movies, I have a quick little ditty for you. You should go over to patreon.com/Evacstation. For only a few bucks a month, you can support our show, as we said in the top. You can go over there right now, link down below, and we might even be able to get you some bonus episodes and some shit. And if you don't want to go there, that's cool. Go over to YouTube or iTunes or Peepa or Google Play. If you go there, make sure you give us positive reviews, thumbs ups, likes, subscribes, ring the fucking bell, whatever the fuck that's all about. They added that like a year or two ago. I still don't understand why they did that. Whatever. The point is, review us on things. The more people see us, the the better we can do with our show, because that's more people who can tell us what they like, what they don't like. They can give us, Patreon stuff, all that cool stuff. So help us out. It would mean a lot. And of course, if you want to reach us out directly, we are on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter. All the links are down below. And we have a fun little email. Ryan, what is this week's email?
This week's email is bureaucracyversusmonsters@gmail.com. Sorry, excuse me. That is evacstation@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Damn bureaucracy. That's why I voted Rick Sanchez.
Hey, bureaucracy actually worked against this monster.
Yeah, but what's it done for me lately?
Have you been eaten by a monster yet, Aaron?
Well,
you're welcome.
No, Ryan, I haven't, but, I mean, that's the same argument I can make about this rock keeping tigers away.
Hey, it's damn good rock. You should keep it close.
I mean, I don't see any tigers around here, do you?
I don't.
Lisa, I'd like to buy your rock. We gotta do a Simpsons movie at some point. We have to. It'll be nothing but Simpsons quotes the whole time.
We truly should. I would love to bathe in my adolescence with that shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't watch that this week, but let's move on to our next segment. What you watching? Ryan, what have you been watching?
Good lord, I should have prepared 2 of these. What have I been watching?
Well, have you been playing something? Have you been reading something? Have you been, fighting something? What have you been doing?
You know what? I have been playing something which is really, really cool, and it leads to something that I've been watching. So I've recently been playing a PC game called Pillars of Eternity 2, which is a really, really boss-ass, real-time RPG that you can play. It's a really great game, very well designed, a lot of fun, and I've been having a great time with it. But the thing that drew me to it, and I got it as a Christmas present, the thing that drew me to it was that the cast of Critical Role actually did a voiceover pack for some of the main characters in the game. So you can essentially adventure with the voices of Vox Machina while playing Pillars of Eternity 2, in which case you are a pirate that is hunting a god because it stole a piece of your soul.
Nice.
That's it. That's the whole thing. Just go. It's so much. It's a lot of fun.
I've killed gods for less. It's fine.
It stole a piece of your soul. Shit, you gotta go get that back.
Yeah, but I mean, I killed a god one time
he
for
stole
taking
your
pizza,
levels.
So
He stole your levels from the first game. You gotta go get that shit back. Go get it.
I'll just grind for more. It's fine. There's more pigs over there. So I want to hit on the Vox Machina thing real quick. So I'm at a point in the series now. I'm still in season 1. I'm taking my time with it. I'm enjoying every episode.
You should. You should.
Yeah. I'm at the point now where I've actually experienced my first character death.
Oh, man.
Technically, it's the second. Grog technically kind of died sooner, but let's be real here. He wasn't gonna die. He's a fan. He came back, like, literally, like, within the same episode, like, in 10 minutes. So, it's fine. But no. So, I don't know how familiar you are with the Season 1 stuff, Ryan, but Percy actually was the first one to, like, full-on die by the end of an episode. And they bring him back in the following episode, but it was just like, wow, I didn't expect to actually get anyone killed this season. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, so I fully jumped on with Season 2. And spoilers, although this came out months
I've heard about this one.
after
I've heard
it
about
happened.
this one.
But yeah, no, I was actually watching the day after when Molly Mock died, and I was at work, and I could not fucking believe it, and I was super pissed because Molly Mock was my favorite, but fucking blood hunters, man, they're too risky. But I think that adds a real awesome element in the games from Critical Role, is that, like, while they're having a great time, the degree of danger is real, and Matt will not shy away if the dice calls for someone to die.
I can respect that.
It makes really sad. It makes really sad episodes, but they're really, really impactful, and the rest of the group feels it and are so like close knit that they feel it when a character dies. Like, really? So you get a lot of that real emotion, and it really enriches the game. So it's sad, but yeah, no, that's a real element in the stories that Matt Mercer weaves, and that's why I think he's one of the best DMs of all time.
Yep.
I aspire to be like him if I ever get the courage to actually run a game.
I aspire to be in a game run by someone like him because I don't have time to run a campaign anymore, but I'd love to play in one again.
Yeah.
You don't even need to be as good as him. Just give me a story I give a shit about, and make it so I can be a character who, like, isn't, like, boring, and I'm down with that. Nicole had a pretty good session going for a while, but school stuff happened and she kind of had to stop. So, but
time is a real thing. I will say that when my girlfriend ends up moving to Chicago, which possibly due to time shenanigans, she may already be here by the time you guys are listening.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Cagliostro. Anyway, she has expressed interest in real, like, RPG experience. She's only played one session of D&D, and it was with people who weren't, like, super serious about it, like I am and my friends are. So I may or may not have to actually, like, put together a really good RPG experience for her, and that may or may not become a real thing. So,
well, hey,
we'll see.
If you're open to the idea of doing a D20 or Roll20 thing, let me know. I might jump in on that.
We will see, Dagnabbit. I just might.
But to do
I hope you like being a vampire, because I think she wants to play that.
Now, do I have to be a vampire, or can I be something that, like, fights vampires?
We'll work it out. We'll work it out.
Okay, so I was gonna say, if I have to be a vampire, I'm gonna be Alucard from Hellsing. Specifically Hellsing Abridged, but Hellsing nonetheless.
Of course.
I'm a fuck-mothering vampire. Anyway, my actual what you watching this weekend, and we're going a little long here because we got a little sidetracked, but hey, D&D, it happens. I watched in a single day, and I am fucking ashamed of myself, all of season 2 of Dragon Prince.
Damn, season binge. Was it that good?
It's also very short. Every episode's like 20 minutes, and the season's like 8 or 9 episodes long, so it wasn't long. But
okay.
I got it done in a day while doing other stuff and everything. Man, I wish it had kept going, though. That finale, just like, oh, you just had to stop right there, you motherfuckers.
They gotta leave you wanting more, man. They gotta leave you wanting more.
Yep. So I'm gonna try to explain it without spoilers. The goal of season 1 is carried over, but certain things have changed to make that a little trickier. Friendships are tested in ways that are very fun and creative, and I actually really liked. And some harsher truths are let out that really force characters to grow up and change in ways that I honestly didn't expect them to do. And it's a very good season. Like, definitely a good follow-up to the first one. It's just way too damn short for my taste.
I understand that. I felt like that for the first season of Castlevania. It was just like, this is real good. And there should have been more fucking episodes.
Uh-huh. No joke. I agree with you on Castlevania, too. Man, Castlevania is so good. But alright, if you have not had a chance to check it out, there are 2 seasons out now. Fucking get on that, man, because Dragon Prince, it's so good. And the animation actually is smoothed out a bit in season 2 as well. Either I'm so used to it I didn't notice it, or they smoothed it out just a bit more, so...
Yes, 100%.
And speaking of things smoothing out, let's smooth out our Godzilla week with our next episode. Welcome to the penultimate episode of our first foray into the Kingdom of Monsters. This week we'll be talking about Shin Godzilla, released in 2016 and directed by both Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi. It would go on to gross a worldwide total of $77.9 million, and if Wikipedia is to be believed, that is 5 times more than what it costs.
Which is fucking nuts, both in the fact that it quintupled the amount that it cost to make, and also that they were able to make such a bomb-ass movie on what seems to be kind of a small budget, because this was nuts.
To be fair, though, a lot of scenes are like just a bunch of like bureaucrats in a room, which you could probably get that
fair.
pretty cheap. You probably get that pretty cheap.
You know, that in and of itself is fair. It allowed them to like spend like the majority of the movie, the majority of the budget on the scenes that they really needed to look good. The other scenes were just carried through, I don't know, fucking storytelling and great acting. Shit.
The cast includes, and I forgot to write it down, so I have IMDb open to help me out here. And I'm going to pick up some names here. I've got Pierre Taki, I've got Jun Kunimura, I've got Makiko Ichikawa, I've got Kengo Kora, I've got Akira Emeto, I've got Ren Osugi, I've got Satomi Ishihara, I've got Yutaka Take Nuichi. That's a harder one to say, apparently. And then our star of the show is Hiroki Hasegawa. Thank you, IMDb.
Right.
Didn't let me down there. The awards, and this movie actually did win a few awards, a good fair share, and I think they're well deserved. Best visual effects from the Asian Film Awards, best art direction, sound, editing, lighting, director, cinematography, and film from the awards of the Japanese Academy. Best Film from the Blue Ribbon Awards, Best Screenplay from the Cinema Junpo Awards, and Best Film Supporting Actress and Art Direction from the Mainichi Film Concours. Man, there's a lot of good awards here, and I haven't seen some of these since our Ghibli season. Ryan.
I know, Jesus.
Ryan, you got some fun facts for me?
Man, we actually have a couple of them. So, first and foremost, producer Akihiro Yamauchi, yes, stated that the title Shin Godzilla was chosen for the film due to the variety of meanings of the syllable Shin could convey, such as new, or true, or God. So there were many ways that the title could have been taken, and of course that's how a lot of Godzilla films are also taken. So I think they're getting subtle with their naming. I really like it. Next is that at one point in the film, all of the TVs in an electronics store are showing live footage of Godzilla's destruction of Tokyo, except for one, which is playing the anime Ochibi-san, created by Moyoko Anno, who is director Hideaki Anno's wife. This is also a reference to the fact that one of Tokyo's 6 broadcast TV stations is notoriously reluctant to air breaking news. That's a deep cut reference, and I really like that it's actually in there.
I appreciate it quite a bit.
I appreciate that too. I had no idea of it, but I appreciate that they threw such a deep shout out to people. Now, next up, this film's Godzilla stands at 118.5 meters tall. That's 389 feet, surpassing Legendary Pictures' Godzilla in 2014, which stood at 355 feet tall, or 108 meters tall, thus making it the largest version of Godzilla to appear on film.
That's pretty cool.
And that's really fucking cool. Now, next off, this is the first Japanese-made Godzilla film since Godzilla in 1985, which ironically aired in 1984, where Godzilla does not fight another monster and is the main antagonist of the film, which I think also adds a really, really cool spin to the movie, and we'll get into that later. But last but not least, this is, of course, the first Toho-produced Godzilla film in 12 years since Godzilla Final Wars.
And if you want to hear our thoughts on that one, go check out that podcast from last week.
That was last week, and I am still drunk, so let's go, guys.
Some initial thoughts to get them out of the way real quick. I thought this movie was a bit of a slow burn with all the government shenanigans, and I like saying the word shenanigans, so I'm throwing it in there. But when the Godzilla stuff finally happens, it is some of the best Godzilla stuff I have ever seen. Without question.
Yeah, it's pretty boss. I love this. I 100% love this film. While I do agree that it was slow building, I didn't mind it at all, because I feel like this movie honestly gets to like a level of like real deep old school sci-fi where it gives you an exaggerated premise, and instead of focusing on the premise, it shows how humanity reacts in regards to said premise. So it's more of an examination of the human condition than the monster of the week. So it really did good in like delving into human nature, the heart of Japanese bureaucracy and like government life, the united kind of structure around Japan's nation in relation to the rest of the nations around the world, particularly the U.S. government. And then on top of that, it had some boss-ass Godzilla action. This movie had a lot in it for a lot of different audiences.
And for
it's one of my favorites. And for such a low budget, yes. This is one of my favorites that we've done. It's up there. It's up there with King Kong. But I'm gonna reserve judgment. Suffice to say, I really liked it.
Yeah, we should jump into this real quick, and we can get into that, because there's some deep cuts here, Ryan, I want to get into, that I found on researching this one, so we'll get into that.
Ooh, okay.
I've been asked to remind you, from our sponsors, Monarch, that the following retelling doesn't reflect accurate events. The following events are either from a parallel universe, or they simply are lies from the Japanese government. It was easier to make this disclaimer than censor everything. Oh, I wasn't supposed to read it last part. Yeah. Moving on.
No!
The film takes place in modern day. Something is in Tokyo Bay, flooding tunnels and breaking boats. You know, typical stuff. It's a little inconvenient for the commutes, though. And people died. That's important. Government officials spend several minutes meeting and holding press conferences until the thing emerges from the ocean onto land, surprising everyone that it could do so. But why are we surprised by this again?
Except for that one guy who said, hey, it could possibly come on land.
Yeah,
but that's neither here nor there.
That guy knew it was up. He's the real hero. I bet he died, off screen somewhere. This low-profile, googly-eyed monster is something like a tsunami, bringing massive amounts of water and destruction onto land as it stomps through the streets of the Kamata district. Man, I butchered that first pronunciation. Of Tokyo. It eventually stands upright in a menacing form, and then leaves Tokyo for reasons unexplained. I think he just got tired of everybody, harshing on his grill. An American envoy, Kayako, meets with Yakuchi, leader of the research task force, to figure out what this creature is and how to stop it, and maybe make some googly eyes to another. Her government has gathered details on the creature from a rejected academic on the subject. Never trust an academic. They're just going to try to fill you with knowledge. That's just gross. The creature is finally given a name. Godzilla. I guess roll credits? The creature returns, now bigger and more, and going more into the midst of Tokyo's most populated districts. When the Japanese bombers fail to destroy Gojira, Trump gives the okay to drop bigger bombs. Not actually Trump. I just want to make everyone know that Trump was never in this movie. I don't want to give him any more credit than what's due. Anyway, they wound the creature, and it responds with a hauntingly beautiful scene of atomic rays, fire, and dorsal fin beams. I think it's a new thing for the series to do, so kudos for you guys coming up with a new idea. The humans discover a weakness of Godzilla, utilizing its blood in combination with a coagulant to freeze it. I'll be back to kill the dinosaurs with the Ice Age.
Get out. Get out, please.
So everyone in Japan prepares to go with Operation Mr. Freeze, while Americans prepare bigger nuclear weapons, because that'll basically wipe Japan off the map for good. Good work, Mr. Trump.
USA!
Good work, Mr. Trump. Make America great again by blowing up better countries. That's the way to do it. Meanwhile, Godzilla's taking a nap. The laser light show wore it out, after all. The humans come back near the end of the 2-week time before America drops the bombs for one final attack. Train bombs, coagulant delivery trucks, and wave after wave of drones are destroying the final rampage from Gojira as it defends itself. But they slow it down just enough where they can deliver the freezing agent. The coagulant. Not an agent who freezes things. That'd be weird. All seems lost until the monster actually freezes like a statue. Now Japanese efforts can focus on rebuilding, and Trump can go back to saving that bomb for someone else, like Canada, or maybe Russia. Lots of talk about Russia lately. As we get to the ending sequences of the humans, the film cuts to Godzilla before the credits, painting over his tail, as weird creatures look to have been emerging from the tail at the time of the freezing. But I guess we'll never know what they were. Or will we? The credits roll and the end of the movie.
God, that fucking tail. Yo, what?
So, I don't know if I wrote it down in a later question, Ryan, so I'm going to just ask it now. What do you think those fucking weird mutant monsters were? They look like they were baby Zillas almost.
So they do look like they were baby Zillas, and it's been hinted at that it's possible that Godzilla just reproduces asexually, and that's how he would do it. But I have read a couple of other takes on it that are actually really, really, really interesting. So throughout the course of the film, Godzilla constantly evolves to deal with the threat of that humans constantly like provide to it, right? It keeps evolving to answer each thing that they bring up to it with the fucking dorsal fins, which were bullshit but awesome and just terrifying. So that was boss. But the last one, they actually like there were a couple people online that posit that since they essentially beat Godzilla through the power of teamwork, and it was a group of people working in conjunction, like in
unison.
Yes, unison. Thank you. And a bunch of people working in unison in a committee to beat it. They were arguing that Godzilla's next evolution would be to develop a team to fight against the humans. So that there are hints that there are ideas that was actually his next evolution, where he would essentially summon a group of like smaller creatures to actually work in unison with him to overcome his enemies.
Godzilla, did you just summon a bunch of monsters in one turn? Yeah. So?
He did, man. He's fucking hacks, man. They had to freeze that dude.
Is that against the rules? Screw the rules. I'm Godzilla.
He is Godzilla. He has fucking dorsal fins that throw lasers.
Man, like, just... So, can we just focus on that moment for, like, one hot minute?
Oh my god.
So, that whole scene, and anyone who's watched the movie, and I hope you guys are watching these movies with us, because some of these are a real treat. So, there's this scene where Godzilla's being bombed on all sides. He fires his laser. At first, it's a fire breath, and then it, like, condenses down into a singular. It looks really cool. It cuts some buildings down, it blows up some shit. It's really neat. Then cue in some more bombs from above, and that's when all of a sudden he has a fucking disco show going on with laser beams out of his back. And I'm like, oh fuck. He is literally just a fucking, like, rave machine, like, on, like, death mode right here. And it's just, it's the most beautiful looking use of CGI I've seen in quite a while. And I just am accomplished with this. Like, they made something new and terrifying out of something that we've seen a million times, and it is impressive they could pull that off without that getting out and being a big deal. Like, this movie's been out for a couple of years, right? And we didn't even know about it until we saw this movie.
I'm super glad they managed to keep it under wraps. I mean, it was so good, and like a lot of the impact of that scene comes from the shock of it, because so with the humans in this movie, they're seeing Godzilla for the first time. So everything that this thing does is new to it. So when it shows up and it gets on land, the humans are like, "Oh shit!" But the audience is like, "Well, yeah, it's fucking Godzilla." Stands up on two legs. The humans are like, "Oh shit!" The audience are like, "Yeah, it's fucking Godzilla." He shows up big as hell, and he's like fucking bulletproof. You can't even hit him with bombs and shit. The humans are like, "Oh shit!" The audience is like, "Dude, it's Godzilla. What the fuck?" Same thing with the atomic breath. But the dorsal lasers are the first time that the audience is really fucking caught off guard, and they're in the same boat as the humans, where it's just like, what the fuck do we do with this thing? This thing is terrifyingly powerful. The fact that it now has a defense mechanism that can throw lasers from a bunch of different angles from its back that goes for fucking hundreds of feet to intercept bombs, and if he turns, those lasers are still fucking full power enough to cut through buildings.
I had to look it up to make sure, because when I was writing this up, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this might be the first time he's done dorsal fin lasers, but I don't know 100%. And I looked it up. I couldn't find any instance of it anywhere else. So this is the first for him. And it's just impressive they keep coming up with new ideas on what to make this thing do. And I gotta give kudos to the director, and let me find his name again real quick. I wrote it down. I don't remember where it is now. To Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi. You guys knew what you were doing with this one. You guys pulled it off really good. So, kudos to both of you. Seriously.
Yes, 100%. I love it. I think it was... I think there's something for twists in movies, and this was a huge fucking twist. Like, it doesn't, like, redefine the movie in any way, but it's just one moment where literally the audience and the protagonist are in the exact same seat, and they're like, what the fuck do we even do with this? It really does wonders for your immersion, because you're sitting there, like, seriously, how the fuck do we stop this thing? This thing is unkillable.
So hear me out. The Legend of Zelda series is more or less the same game every time. Yes, there's differences between them, sure, but each game attempts to recreate the same formula. It has the same items, same bosses, same final boss, same basic premise of, hey, go get the Triforce, save the princess, yada yada yada. So you're getting the same thing every time, and yes, it's fun. Yes, it's comfortable, and yes, it's a good time. But for the fan who's been there forever, they'll eventually get to the point where it's like, I've done this a million times. I want something different. Enter Breath of the Wild, which shakes things up in so many different ways, while not really doing anything super drastically, like, out of character. And I think this is kind of similar to that. It takes the established, like, formula of Godzilla. We've seen Godzilla do all this stuff before, like you said. Your audience has seen him come out of the ground. They've seen him stand upright. They've seen him bulletproof. They've seen him do all this stuff. And then they add this little bit, like they added open world, this truly open world format for Zelda. They add one little power that completely destroys any hopes of defeating Godzilla in the conventional methods, and that shakes things up for new and old people alike. I think that's a good comparison because it just revitalizes something that's been around for, in this case, 50 years for everybody in a way that no one expected, and it's a great thing. It's awesome because nothing is more nothing to me seems very unsatisfying like coming back to a franchise after a few years and seeing that they really haven't changed at all. So when you come back and you've seen that they've done something new to keep you invested, that just like, okay, it's a good selling point. I'm back. Let's see what else you can do.
It does, yeah. No, I 100% agree. You know, like just like small things that are unexpected can absolutely revitalize the life in an old standing series. Now, I think the thing that this movie also does really, really well, aside from the dorsal fins, which we all agree is fucking amazing, is the primary focus of the movie is not on Godzilla per se, but it's on humanity reacting to Godzilla. And that's that's honestly, when I mentioned earlier that like it harkens back to old school sci-fi, like deep sci-fi. That's really what like some of the greatest science fiction work does. It introduces a premise and says, there's the premise, it's fucking ridiculous. Here is how society reacts to said premise. And from that reaction, you learn something about humanity. And so we get to see how even in the face of like this crazy ass thing, like the Japanese still have their bureaucracy. They're still dealing with like trying to go through all this red tape. There's still a group of really impassioned really impassioned outsiders that want to do the best for everybody. They all band together. They try and figure this shit out. Meanwhile, the whole country, like as a nation, has to navigate international waters and how it's still beholden to the United States of America. And it introduces so many really cool things that had nothing really to do with Godzilla, but it like in and of itself made it a great movie to kind of study Japanese culture and the Japanese like Japan's stake or like status on the national stage. So I really enjoyed that on top of fucking bomb-ass dorsal fins.
So it's been 10 years since the last. It's been over 10 years since the last Toho project. Does this feel like a pretty solid comeback?
Yes. Oh my god, 100%. Like we've just been raving about this for the past 10 minutes. Yes, it's a very solid comeback. I feel like it's great because it simultaneously pays homage to where it came from with like the very simple setup of the movie, but it also does something completely new and different with it. And I think that's really the best way you can kind of kickstart an old franchise. You pay tribute to where you came from, and then you do something new and really well done. And
I'm not trying to. I want to reiterate.
I'm going to reiterate.
I think that Ghostbusters was funny at times, but it overall was a little bit of a letdown. Okay.
Yes. I can agree.
Were there any characters that stood out to you other than Yaguchi and Kyoko? I'm trying to think of any of them, but I don't know. I guess maybe the president or the guy in charge of everything. He kind of had a few moments, but I don't know.
Honestly, I loved all of the individual personalities in the kind of the lone wolf squad that he formed to really come up with the answer of the coagulant. I feel like they all had distinct personalities and it made them really engaging and really enjoyable to watch. They were all on the same page, but they were all so different that you were really invested in each individual's input and how they all came together for this answer as a whole. It also really speaks to the fact of like the the diversity inherent in human nature, and yet they all these drastically different people come together for one common goal to really save their country, like on like the same page of like nationalism and pride and just wanting to save as many people as they can. So yeah, I would say the whole cast of loners that he pulled together to come up with the answer to Godzilla.
Fair enough.
That was my favorite.
Okay. So I think we talked about this a little bit, but I just want to make sure we clarified on the answer here. So we see Godzilla grow and morph throughout the film. He kind of evolves, so to speak. And I think we both agree that this is... I guess we didn't really agree on this. We haven't really discussed this part, but do you think that this metamorphing, this growth thing he does, is this a good idea? Do you think it works for the movie? And then why or why not?
I think it worked. I personally enjoyed it. To be quite honest with you, when we first see him, I did not think that was Godzilla.
He was really goofy.
So far removed from what I know. It was super fucking derpy, and I was just like, okay, so this is the monster that shows up to terrorize, and then Godzilla shows up and fights that monster, and we're good. But then it stands up, and it stretches its neck out, and it has like those 3 small dorsal fins, and I'm like, holy shit, is that Godzilla? And then he leaves. And then he comes back and he looks more like Godzilla. And then he leaves. And then he comes back and is like, no, this is terrifying. This is Nightmare Godzilla. So I also like that they worked that into his, like the idea that he can rapidly mutate to adapt to whatever environment that's presented to him. Like that's like one of the things that makes him so terrifying and so like such an advanced threat that literally whatever advantage you have against him, he's gonna like rapidly evolve to counter it. So I like that they did that. It was again another breath of fresh air into the series. Like we actually got to see him become the Godzilla.
I think that the first form is... I like the whole thing. I think it's a really good idea too. I think the first form is definitely like beyond derpy to me. I think when we first saw it, I'm sitting there thinking, is this really going to be what Godzilla is this time around? I know they're going to grow it up at some point, but like, is this really what you want to start it off as? But then I think to myself, if I'm like in real life seeing this thing, it's still terrifying what it's doing. And even if it's not like doing this stuff, the fact of the matter is, it's still a haunting looking thing. Like, yeah, its eyes are derpy and googly, but just looking at it again, like on all the blood it lets out as it's moving around, it's still very chilly and very haunting to look at. So it's not like it's like, you know, a cuddly little monster. It's just spooky.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if it was blood or what the fuck it was. It's just like, is it like gushing blood from its neck?
I interpreted it as it was just getting over its like adaptation from water to land. So I think it's like bleeding out until it can start breathing air completely.
Yeah, I guess, man. But you're right. It straddled the line between derpy and horrifying. So it's just like, I honestly don't know what to make of this because it's ridiculous and it's also terrifying at the same time. Like this weird like stutter shuffle that it was doing to make its way through the city. It's just like, even though it's not offensively terrible, it's still like destroying a good amount of shit just by walking. And then it stands up. And then it stretches its neck out. And then it comes back and it's got like armor. And then it fucking breathes fire and lasers. and then fucking lasers out of its back. It's just like shit. It just keeps getting incrementally more terrifying. But it started out from a very interesting point. So yeah, I love it. I love the
So this next question, Ryan, you'll see a couple links there that kind of give some background to the reasons behind this question. So if you want to click on them, you can. But I'll go ahead and just jump into it, and you can kind of give your piece if you like. So what is the meaning behind this iteration of Godzilla, and what is the meaning behind the events of the film, you think?
All right, you're gonna I'll let you expound on it a little more.
Let me expound by going over the history or like the previous Godzillas. And I'm going to read an article from Giant Bomb, or I'm going to at least give a little bit of a breakdown of it. So bear with me. In the original 54 movie, Godzilla represented the destruction and fear of nuclear weapons and the energy in Japanese society in the wake of the Second World War and American occupation. It was not just the Japanese who feared this new technology, though it was certainly new in its. They certainly knew its power for more than most. In the United States, Them, a movie from the same year, was a story about giant ants created from nuclear fallout from bomb testing in Nevada, and it ends in a speech with Dr. Medford, played by Santa from The Miracle on 34th Street, about the unknown dangers of nuclear energy. Fast forward to the Godzilla movie, and it's kind of the same thing. He's created from bomb testing over the Pacific. He attacks Tokyo, who are very familiar with the bombings from World War II, and yeah, he represents the consequences of unknown atomic energy usage. Fast forward to 2014, and the meaning for Godzilla kind of changes for the Legendary Pictures Godzilla. According to the article here, they say that the King of the Monsters is referred to as being a being able to bring balance. He fights the giant insects that are awoken from strip mining in the middle of a tropical forest. A large portion of the earlier film takes place in a destroyed nuclear power plant, an obvious nod to Fukushima nuclear disaster. There is an overall theme of environmental degradation and the consequences of that, with Godzilla being forced to bring balance, just like hurricanes and floods kind of bring balance, or tries to at least. So in the first film, Godzilla is more of a destructive force, being the consequences of atomic reusage. And the newer film, it's kind of a force of nature, bringing balance to human destructions. Kind of in a similar vein, but in a different kind of vein. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, how do you think this Godzilla plays into those two, then?
Yeah, I think it definitely speaks more towards... I feel like... Okay, so I feel like Godzilla in Shin Godzilla really pushes home the... It really acts as kind of a mirror to... like the human condition and like the status of humanity, at least from Japan's standpoint, rather than like focusing, like having the focus on Godzilla as this is the answer to man's folly and like how it will balance the world. Instead, Godzilla shows up and the focus is instead on humanity, and it shows a group of people who like represent kind of the old guard, and like how they're a little slower to deal with the new shit, and the younger generation who wants to like kind of take it head on, while also really focusing on the nationalistic pride, the Japan's status, like Japan's like state on the national stage and things like that. So I think Shin Godzilla works as more of a foil to humanity as opposed to being the primary focus in the Legendary Pictures version. And I think Shin Godzilla acts as a more interesting role than Legendary Pictures version, because Legendary Pictures version is really cool to watch because you get to watch these awesome ass CGI monsters do something, but I feel like Shin Godzilla actually has a message about humanity inherent in it.
That's fair. I can appreciate that. So the other article I pulled up was an article from Inverse, and I think Ryan maybe read a little of that already. But I know in the article, it also mentions the Japanese military and how throughout the Godzilla history, like all the other films, the Japanese military is kind of shown to be for lack of a better word, inept at dealing with Godzilla, and the new film kind of is attempting to redirect and refocus that. Not so much that they're inept, but that they're dealing with this overwhelming force. So it's still difficult, but they're good. They're still capable of what they're doing, and they come together at the end and still do it.
Right, right.
So I guess the question I want to follow that up with is, considering the points above we just made, how does the reflection and representation of the Japanese military compare to how films in America showcase our American military forces?
I mean, I think it's similar to how the how American military is showcased, but I think Shin Godzilla actually navigates a trickier tightrope, so to speak, because with Japan's demilitarization and all of these treaties that it has to kind of navigate around after World War II. I feel like this movie does a really good job of showcasing like how hard they're trying and how actually professional they are, while also saying that even the combined military might of humanity doesn't stand a chance against Godzilla. Because when you look at the military strike against Godzilla that they actually make, it's executed to like a fucking T. It's actually really impressive to see like the battle plan actually pull out, and it's executed perfectly. There are no fuck ups. There are no like random fire like soldiers firing or being out of position. Like, you actually have them executing a really complicated military strategy against Godzilla. So they do a good job of showcasing just how good their military forces are, and yet it still is ineffective. As opposed to like Legendary Pictures, they have to have the military show up. They have to have it hit it with a bunch of really powerful artillery, because that's what America's got going for it. We spend fucking more than the next 26 countries on military funding, 25 of whom are allies, but that's not
Wait, which one's not the ally? I'm trying to think which one that would be. Is that North Korea? Or are we an ally with them now? How's that even work anymore?
Maybe, sure. I don't is Russia on that? Anyway, sorry. So we have like in the American version of Godzilla, we can showcase the military trying to hit it with a really big stick, because that's what we've got going for it. But the focus isn't on making the military look good, because we don't have to do that with this movie in our society. We already know the military looks good, or the military is already on a high enough pedestal in our society that we don't have to go the extra mile to make it look good against fucking Godzilla. We're just going to showcase it, trying to do some shit, and it doesn't work. But in Shin Godzilla, there's a lot of effort to make their military look good, which I definitely think it succeeds in doing. And they also maintain, I want to say, the integrity of how fucking terrifying Godzilla is. Even with this amazing military like force and like really skilled military strategy, it was
so disheartening the first time that they get their coagulate trucks up there. I'm like, oh man, they got him. And he gets up and he starts just destroying them all. I'm like, oh man, they're not gonna stop him, are they? Like, it was such a great scene still. Like, oh man,
It was. Yeah, the first time they get up there and he just gets up and breathes and just wipes out the whole crew. It's just like, fuck, man, seriously? And they're like, all right, roll out the next fleet. And like, oh, thank God. Okay, they planned.
Like, they really came together at the end there. I was impressed with what all they had going for it. So
they really did. Can we talk about that ending sequence? Because that plan was amazing. First of all, the idea of using the surrounding buildings and collapsing them on top of Godzilla with key demolitions charges that were set, fucking brilliant. I'm going to hit Godzilla with buildings. We can't hit him with bombs because apparently he just sees them coming, but he's not going to be able to disintegrate an entire fucking building falling on him. So they used the environment to their advantage, which was awesome. Knocked him down, had the crews in place to throw like coagulant into him, and had multiple deployments of them set up so that they could do the battle in phases. Like the amount of military planning that not only went into the military portion of it, but also the scientific portion of it showed how much everybody was invested in this. Because at the end, in the third act, it wasn't just like factions of Japan trying to race and see who could actually beat Godzilla. It was all of Japan coming together to defeat Godzilla, because if they didn't, the US was going to nuke them again. And that's insane. But it's such a heavy stake to put onto the third act. And I really think it helped to raise the tension and both really help you cheer for the country as a whole when they were going up against Godzilla. But I loved the plan that they came up with. What did you think about it?
I really enjoyed the plan too. I liked how at first I like how the audience was not let in on it to start with, because when you have the whole bring in the next phase after he destroys all those trucks, it's kind of like a little twist, not really a huge twist, but a little twist for like the audience, like, oh wait, they had a plan for this, and just seeing all the drones go in and seeing all of them get blown up wave after wave after wave, it's just such an interesting way to do things, because I feel like, again, in American production, I feel like the American military would have had like one real shot at it, and they would have either gotten it like with like overwhelming force by luck, or they would have failed miserably, and then some other bullshit would have happened afterward to save the day without their involvement at all. So seeing a level of perseverance and a level of just like, we can't give up attitude with these guys, and they kept going and going, that was really good. I just liked how they kept it up. Like, there's a spirit here of Japan's nationality, I think we brought up a couple times, that just really comes from this film, and I really appreciate how they managed to pull it all together.
Yeah, 100%, I agree.
I'm going to skip a question here because we're running a little long. I'm going to jump into this last one here. Do you think this film will be the beginning of a new era of Godzilla films from Toho, or do you think this film will be a one-off experience? And do you even want more films in the Shin Godzilla timeline?
I would love a sequel. I mean, the fact that they ended with that shot on the tail as Godzilla was giving birth to creatures, fucking, I don't know. I think that was a pretty clear cut hook to hang a sequel on to. But I think it also showcases like the drastically new direction that Toho would want to take it if they decide to go with sequels. Because like, once you have a Godzilla movie, of course the next thought is, okay, well, we bring Godzilla back and another monster attacks and then we have them fight, right? But it feels like it's completely ignoring that line of thinking and saying, okay, Godzilla's gonna come back with a vengeance, and you know this dude evolves like on a fucking dime, so he's gonna come back and be like stupidly powerful to deal with. And he's already like coming up with like small Godzillas. I feel like the level of intelligence and wit that's brought to Shin Godzilla, I would trust them with the sequel. If they decide to make more of it, I would 100% be in for it, because what they brought to the table with Shin Godzilla was so new and so fresh. I would love to see where that train of thought continues, like leads up
I
to.
would say, if you're going to make a sequel to Godzilla, here's what you do. You get 100 different monsters. You drop them all in the city, and you have them fight as the city shrinks in size, and the last monster standing gets a chicken dinner. Oh, wait.
We don't win a chicken dinner.
No, I think a sequel for this would be really good. I want to see what those monsters could be, the little tail monsters. I want to see if Godzilla can thaw itself out, evolving for its new circumstances. I want to see if they desire to put another monster in, and if they do, what do they possibly put in? Do you put in a different Godzilla? Do you put in a different, like, kaiju in general? Do you bring back Mothra and see how they could fit that into this weird, new, darker spin on the franchise? So there's a lot of things you could do, but you gotta keep it within the same tone, or you're gonna, like, miss the point of Shin Godzilla completely. So I'm open to more ideas and more stuff from the Shin Godzilla timeline, the Shin era, if you might say. But if this is a one-off experience, I would not be opposed either. I also think we need more one-off experiences in films in general, and if that's what this ends up being, I won't be upset, but I would like to see more of this if they have the drive to do so.
Me too. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to be said for just letting something exist on its own, and this is a movie that it can have a sequel, but it doesn't need a sequel. You know, it's not like obviously fucking of course there's gonna be a sequel. You know, like they left the door open for it. Again, they navigated a fucking tightrope here. They left the door open for a sequel, but they didn't beg for a sequel to happen. Because we already know from the ending minutes of the movie that Japan has an agreement with the United Nations that the moment Godzilla becomes active, they get to launch a nuke at Japan. I don't know if you caught that, but like literally the moment that Godzilla goes active again, the United Nations are going to throw a nuke at it because
I got my hand on a huge button over here. As soon as Godzilla wakes up, I'm going to launch a nuke at him. I let North Korea do it, but they're not ready yet.
God, I'm mad at how eerily on point that Trump conversation was. I'm mad at you for that.
I didn't plan on it being that good.
Why? Fuck. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I was saying, it doesn't beg for a sequel, but it can. I would not be mad if they left it as a standalone because it by itself is a ridiculously strong story, and I think it says a lot. But if they do decide to make a sequel, I'd be really interested to see exactly where they go with it. Because you could play with the idea of introducing more monsters, and then Godzilla opens up and actually fucking fights the monster, and Japan is begging the UN not to fucking nuke them because Godzilla is actually going to take care of the problem for them. It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see exactly what happens with this established Japan dealing with the reality of multiple monsters as opposed to only Godzilla.
Yeah. And if you all have thoughts on the Shin Godzilla future, please let us know in the comments below. Also go to Facebook, Tumblr, or Twitter. We can be reached out there very quickly. You can also go to our email. Ryan, what is that email?
That is scalytailbabies@gmail.com. I'm sorry, excuse me. That is Evacstation@gmail.com.
Some of those get me pretty good. That was a solid one.
Yay!
I'm going to do a quick round of triv. I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to shorten it down a bit. I'm going to skip a few. Ryan, are you ready for some Zilla triv?
Alright, let's do it.
Excluding Shin Godzilla and 1998's American Godzilla, what are the 4 eras of Godzilla? And a bonus point for each one if you can get the years those eras ran.
Bruh, you are asking me too hard of a question. I don't fucking know. My first era of Godzilla was 1998, hearing Puff Daddy do a remix of fucking Kashmir with Matthew Broderick.
Well, Ryan, I can tell you these eras real quick. We got the Showa era from 54 to 75. We got the Heisei era from the 84 to 95. Then we got the Millennium era, which we did mention a couple times, from 99 to 04. And then the current one is MonsterVerse from 2014 to now. And
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the legend. That's the legendary features.
Yep. Next one, Ryan. I got a few Marvel-related questions because Godzilla was published by Marvel Comics for a time, and
Really?
there's some fun shit. There's some fun shit I found. For example, what division of S.H.I.E.L.D. was created to stop Godzilla? And bonus, you can guess who was on this small but scrappy team.
Oh my god, what would they have called it? Okay, so Shield was the main thrust of it. Sword was their space their space faction that dealt with extraterrestrial shit. What would have been monsters? God damn it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you're overthinking this way too much.
No! Fuck. Alright, I'm gonna guess Spear and be completely wrong. It's fine.
It is Godzilla Squad.
I literally almost threw my water bottle. God damn it.
I won't read all the names, but the only name you would probably recognize is Dum Dum Dugan. He was on the squad.
Dum Dum Dugan! He was hunting Godzilla!
It's pretty cool.
I'm so mad. It's so fun, but I'm so mad.
Who was the first Avenger to directly deal with Godzilla?
Ooh. My guess would be the Hulk, as the only person who's probably strong enough to actually possibly go toe-to-toe with it.
Surprisingly enough, the first Avenger to deal with him directly is Hank Pym.
Really? Oh, fuck it. Okay, yeah. Ant-Man, Goliath. Yeah, okay.
Now, Stark does create technology for S.H.I.E.L.D. to deal with it, but he never deals directly with Godzilla, as far as I recall from what I read. So
that makes sense because he can grow to physically deal with it, but he's also a scientist that could break down the threat of Godzilla. I can see that.
In the comics, he apparently shrinks Godzilla down to a more manageable size, but he gets away, and then he grows back up, and then the Fantastic Four are going to help out. It's pretty cool. The Marvel publication ended after 2 years. How did the Avengers actually beat Godzilla at the end of those 2 years?
Shit.
You're going to be very disappointed with the answer. I hope you know that.
Aw, boo. As long as they didn't bury him in the Antarctic by, like, fucking collapsing a mountain on him. Fucking Final Wars. Anyway. Shit.
It's one way to make Godzilla really mad at you.
What would have been... Shit, dude, I don't know, man. What was it? How'd they do it?
Okay, I'm going to read this verbatim from what I got from the wiki. The Avengers, working alongside S.H.I.E.L.D., allowed Godzilla's one true friend, Rob, to persuade the monster to return to sea and leave the U.S. peacefully.
Who the fuck is Rob?
I think he's one of the guys on the squad, Gucci, or Takiguchi. But there might be another Rob, too, that I'm not familiar with. They didn't give a last name when I was reading this part, so I'm hoping it's the same one, but yeah. That's what it says in the wiki. I'm like, okay, I'll write that down. We'll see if I get a laugh out of that.
Incorrect. The only acceptable answer I would have taken is Rob the fucking robot from Smash Bros. Other than that, no.
That's fair. That's very fair. 2 more here. Godzilla would return in Marvel Comics sometime later as mutated by what Marvel villain?
Who deals with mutations? Like forcible mutations? No, it wouldn't be X-Men. I would think they did it with some type of radiation since it's fucking Godzilla. Maybe gamma rays, maybe Abomination, maybe fucking... what was his name? What's the fucking... The big brain dude?
Oh, you're thinking Leader? You're thinking Leader?
No, not Leader. The guy who was hinted at the end of the Ed Norton Hulk.
Yeah, that's the Leader.
That's Leader? That's the Leader?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then that's my guess.
The answer is Dr. Demonicus. I don't even know who that is.
I keep putting all of this thought towards my answers, and you keep pulling the fucking rug out from under me.
I want you to know, Ryan, I had a pretty miserable day earlier today. This is making up for it so hard.
You're fucking welcome, sir.
Last question, because it's going to deal with the death of Marvel's Godzilla. Due to what is likely legal reasons, the most recent appearance of Godzilla was actually an entity named Leviathan from the Earth 616 storyline, but apparently it's the same character. This iteration was very short-lived, and he was killed by what X-Men character?
X-Men killed. Okay.
I got my hands on the rug right now, ready to pull it out from under you.
Leviathan. Hold on. Why would it have been called Leviathan? Well, it's something to do with an island or the ocean. I would think some type of water-based X-Man. Maybe Storm? Nah, probably not Storm. Was it was an actual X-Man and not just like some random mutant?
It was an actual X-Man, yes. He may not have been an X-Men at the time, but he has been on the X-Men for sure that I know of.
I am going to guess Bobby Drake, Iceman.
You are so damn close.
So upset right now.
It is one of the original X-Men. It is Angel when he goes to his Archangel form.
Boo! How the fuck? What? It's a dude with wings! Wait, okay, you said Archangel form, so he has metal wings. Did he fucking cut Godzilla to death with metal wings? Is that
From what I read, he shoots his like wing feather, his metal feathers at Godzilla, and somehow it takes it down.
Boo!
I know, it's so disappointing.
Boo hiss!
I told you, man, I had my hands on the rug, I was ready to pull it out from under you.
Mad.
Well,
end this damn podcast. Lord have mercy.
Speaking of pulling the rug out from under you, we're going to finish up with a final thoughts discussing whether the movie was a gold, silver, platinum, or one of the other ones. There's so many of them. Ryan, what are we ranking this movie as?
So again, with the focus on humanity as a core pillar of the movie, a look at like nationalistic viewing, like leanings, and just like a general consensus on the human condition. I loved this movie. On top of the deep things that it gets into, like from a nationalistic standpoint, it also had the most terrifying rendition of Godzilla that I've ever seen. We didn't even talk about the fact that he could fire a laser from his fucking tail, but that's neither. Cool too. That was ridiculous and so upsetting, but so really cool. I'm giving this a gold because I 100% enjoyed this. I was all in on it from the beginning of the movie, and I didn't look back. So yeah, I give it a gold, honestly.
I will say, going into this, I was hesitant to give it a gold because while I do appreciate all the movie, I do think that the bureaucratic stuff goes on a little long. Not that I'm upset by it, just that for me, I'm coming to see a Godzilla movie. I want to see Godzilla do some stuff. I don't want to see a bunch of old fucks in a room saying, "Hey, we gotta hold another conference and tell these old fucks, hey, we got a monster out here." They know that there's a monster. We gotta tell them anyway. We gotta tell them about this monster. So that didn't do it for me. But I will say that when you kind of take that out and focus on the context of what these characters are doing, what they represent, this new generation of kids coming up to kind of take the reins and really handle this problem that the older guys can't. And when you see Godzilla's like transformations and the fucking atomic breath scene, there's a lot of stuff to love here. So I'm going to give this a gold, maybe a low gold, high silver, but I think I'm leaning more gold overall.
Excellent. You chose wisely.
Well, we're running a little long, so I'm going to be very quick. Next week, Kingdom of the Monsters is out, and we're going to be talking about it. Actually, by the time this airs, you will probably have already seen it, but we're going to cover it next week. And then after that, it is X-Men all the way, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why do you think I went for the fucking Marvel connections at the end of this one? It's a transition right there. Archangel. We're going to go to X-Men. It's going to be great stuff.
I see you.
Granted, we're not going to see Archangel for, 2 or 3 movies. So
we're not going to see Archangel, period, motherfucker.
Wait, is he not in Last Stand?
Angel is.
Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot. It's just Angel for a while. Don't worry, we'll get Apocalypse at some point. It'll be fine.
Bruh.
It'll be fine.
It's all right. You guys get to hear me defend the cinematic version of Phoenix. It'll be a blast.
Oh, Ryan, you'll get to do that twice.
Yay! Oh, man. I gotta, like, eat my Wheaties and, like, fucking get my energy up, man. This is gonna be a lot to defend.
All right. Well, with that in mind, thank you for listening, everybody. We do appreciate it. Again, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Evacstation, gmail.com, and all the platforms for all the podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, all that cool stuff, and Patreon.com. I don't think I missed anything, so I'm going to hurry up and say we'll see you after the credits.
Bye, guys.